So I've been starting these off with the cliche, really cheesy, really corny question. Who is your least favorite pony?
Least favorite.
Hmm.
Least favorite. Oh no. Yes, cliche indeed. I am such a lover. Um, least favorite pony. I already know. I can already think of a few people that probably said Rainbow Dash.
Hmm.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She would not be my least favorite. Of any pony, like any of them,
Any of them.
Trixie.
Mm.
I don't like I hate Trixie. I think she's just terrible. Um, yeah, yeah. I don't know why it took me a second to even think about that, but yeah, like even talking about it right now, I have a knot in my stomach because I'm like, Trixie. I I get that, like, some people are like, yeah, Trixie, but I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Of course, you say that to a platform that's known for its Trixie
Is this
propaganda.
interview
That's
about to get cut like right now?
um Seth is monitoring on the other channel, and fortunately, he's giving the cut. No, he doesn't care about Trixie at all anymore either. So you're good. You're safe.
See,
You're good.
I knew he'd come around.
Hmm. Do you have a reason? Because I feel like we need a reason. I mean, this isn't something like Zephyr Breeze. Like you need to describe this a little bit.
Well, okay, so for me, the problems I have with Trixie, like when she started out as this like one-off villain, like she came and she went, like that was fine.
Right.
But the constant back and forth with her and Starlight, like I'm constantly just being like, God, she's just a shitty friend. And I'm sure there's people who will have every reason to defend her, but I'm like, someone got time for that. Like, just don't be an asshole. Like, come on, Trixie. Like, stop it. Does that answer that question?
I mean, I think
Because I,
that's acceptable. With the
yeah,
knot in the stomach and the feelings that this is bringing up, I really don't want to. I don't want to give more emotion for you to have to go to your psychologist about. So, um,
it's too late. It's too late. Just thinking about getting canceled by EQD already, I'm freaking out.
oh yeah, we love that cancel culture. Uh, I think just on the interviews I've done alone, it's not looking great.
Uh,
That's why I'm doing the interview with you now. That way it's done, and you can't look at the other interviews when they come out and be like, "Yeah, no, we're not doing that."
yeah,
It's good. It's good. Planning
it's good.
ahead. Uh, so before we get too into the ponies, I would like to talk about something that you might be a little bit more familiar with. Um, and I'm not, so I apologize if I misquoted any information. Maybe you can explain it to me. If I'm not mistaken, there's a new Chippendales movie coming out soon.
Yeah, yes, there is. It's going to involve 8 dancers, mini polls. I'm looking very forward to it. Yeah, Disney is releasing a Chippendale Rescue Ranger movie here, and it is the first time that they're really releasing anything content heavy Chippendale Rescue Ranger related since the early '90s.
Okay.
And yeah, it's to me, I'm very excited about it. There's a lot of the faithfuls to the show that have their concerns. As similar to how G4 fans were like, oh no, G5, what's going to change with the art styles and all that. It looks wacky and wild to me. Like there's been a couple trailers that have come out. I feel like they could have either gone very consistent with the show or just gone like crazy, and they're going crazy. And so I'm looking forward to it. No matter what, it looks like it has like its lowest it's going to hit is dumpster fire hilarity, and I'm still all there for dumpster fire hilarity if that's what we hit. So yeah, yeah, it should be interesting.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I'm glad it's at least interesting. I hope it's pretty exciting for you guys. I know that in the case of Sarah, if I'm not mistaken, you had said you two had met because of that show, or the community rather around that show.
Yeah, so going through high school, I kind of I guess rediscovered the show, and it was funny because I started rediscovering it through fan content. That like I was very unfamiliar with the idea of there being fan content of this degree
Mm-hmm.
for any show. So needless to say, it warmed me up to what eventually happened with My Little Pony. And yeah, I started getting back into it, and I remember I was just like, oh my god, this is so cool. There's art, and there's fan fictions, there's stories that people have made about the show. And when I rediscovered it, I'm like, I loved this show as a kid. Like this was what it was all about. Like it was my favorite show when I was young. And
Yeah.
so being able to rediscover that, it was actually what essentially re-fired up my love for cartoons, because for a while I had gone without. And I don't know if I even would have. Well, it's a safe bet that things would have changed drastically had I not discovered the show, because then I wouldn't have eventually gotten on to the forum Acorn Cafe, where I eventually met Sarah, and then she eventually said, "Hey, check out the show My Little Pony," and the rest is history. So, yeah, it's yeah, there was a lot that traced back to rediscovering Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers that leads to today.
That's awesome. Is you said Acorn Cafe? Is that still a thing today?
It is. It is. It's so yeah, it's a web forum dedicated to Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Um, I think if you Google it, if you just type in Acorn Cafe, you're gonna find all these restaurants in like Seattle that are
Hmm.
like, yo, plant-based food. If you type the Acorn Cafe, you'll actually find it there. And it was funny because when I first landed on this forum, I was also not used to forums. So I was finding art websites and the fan fiction websites, and then I landed on this forum, and I'm like, what the heck's this? I don't see anything. There's just people talking about stuff, and I left it. And then I'm like, it clicked one day, like maybe a week later, where I went, wait, those people were talking about the show, and I forgot what the name was, and it took me like
Oh,
another 2 weeks just to re-find it. So then when I did, I bookmarked it immediately. It was one of the first bookmarks I ever had, and yeah, it it's still around, still kicking, and yeah, still a lot of old friends that we had met back, years and years ago, still hanging out.
heck yeah. Okay, that's cool. And I mean, Pony has a lot of stuff like fan fictions that are really noteworthy. Every Brony knows them. Works of art, whatever the case may be. Is there any like big thing that Chip and Dale's has that if somebody wants to go out and look for specifically, fanfic or art wise, that they might be able to find?
Oh yeah, I remember there's a couple that I'd read. So it's funny because I'm not a huge fan fiction guy,
Hmm.
but in rediscovering the show the way I did, that's what led me into reading up on the stuff. I was just absorbing all this content, and there were a couple of stories that circulate through the fandom of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers that were real good. There was one called "Of Mice and Mayhem."
Hmm.
That one was a lot of fun. And then there's a guy, we know him as Fish, who he also had his series and whatnot of works, both art and story. And but yeah, I just remember getting into that stuff and being like, whoa, this is so
No
intense,
joke.
like reading through what people are coming up with, because again, that was my first introduction to really fandom. And yeah, it was cool. It was like, oh my gosh, these are stories that need to be made, which of course they couldn't be, with the more adult nature and violence than some of them that they had. But I was real intrigued, and it inspired me actually to get into some writing. Um, Initially,
Hmm.
I really really enjoyed writing, especially through high school, and I didn't really do much of it once I kind of got. I would say like maybe a few years before I got into My Little Pony, I was kind of getting off of doing more writing and working more on the visual video stuff. So yeah, but yeah, if anyone's bored and wants to read a fanfic, there's a whole bunch of them out there for Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Heck yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe the movie will spawn some new fans who otherwise would have never been around to experience the content back when it aired. I'm assuming you like through the '80s. I honestly don't know personally.
Hmm.
I was born in
Yeah,
'97, so
it aired late 80s to the early 90s. I think 88 to 91. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, they had 3 seasons. Disney was big on having a 65 episode limit rule for their shows, so
Hmm.
it made it to 65, and then despite how it was doing, whether it was being successful or not, it got the axe for the next shows that were coming in. So
Hmm.
I know a lot of people in the fandom really hate Bonkers, and it's because I think that was the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers successor, the show that took its slot. So a lot of people hold animosity towards Bonkers for that one reason, and it's kind of funny to see, the little riffs. Every fandom's got them, and this one certainly does as well.
That's pretty fun. I like that. I appreciate you exploring that a little bit with me as well, because
Yeah,
I know with the movie coming out that I figured you must have at least heard about it. So, heck yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
So we speaking about other fandoms and other communities, you have if I'm not mistaken, right around the corner we have MomoCon, right?
That is true. Yeah.
Oh
It'll be
goodness.
my first time going out to MomoCon. So a multi-genre convention. I've only been to one other, which was San Diego Comic Con. I was invited to be on a panel for that regarding My Little Pony back in 2019.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was so yeah, going into MomoCon, we're excited. We got a big group that's planning on being out there, putting on a lot of panels. Going to be very busy. Probably going to get a little bit of that feel of BronyCon busyness back, because we used to have slam schedules for those too. So excited to branch out a little bit and see how that goes.
Heck yeah. Paleo had showed me a video the other day of a bunch of people up on the panel going through the content, the shows that had got them into what they do.
Yeah.
And the two of them had said My Little Pony, and it was out of all of them such a explosive reaction from the audience. So that's awesome to see. Hopefully, there's a lot of fans there that'll recognize the content.
Yeah, it's funny too, because you see the surprise in their faces when they say
Mhm.
it, and the reaction they get, and they're like, "Oh my god!" Like, all right. And it is neat. It's nice to see that kind of reception around the show, because I know so often we're exposed to the animosity around the show, especially in the early years of the fandom,
Mhm.
where it was groaned upon when someone would say, "I'm a brony," or "I watch My Little Pony." So it's cool to see that. It's cool to see nerd culture just embrace it all more. And yeah, kind of a heartwarming scenario for them. So we'll see what we get this year.
It's awesome. You guys got to throw a brony party for sure.
Oh,
A
we
brony
every
party. I don't like
convention.
that term. I don't like the term brony party. It doesn't
You don't
have
like that?
quite a good ring to it. No, I think somebody could improve on that. A horse rave, something. It's got to have a little bit more flavor. Um, but I'm excited to see you. You're going to be vlogging there, I assume.
Oh yeah, yeah. I love, so for me, I love vlogging. I love capturing moments. I often joke, but it only is a joke so far. Of as far as when I say I like vlogging because I want to remember the moments. Otherwise, I'm going to forget. But when I constantly go back and look at the vlogs from 2012 forward of pony conventions, I see moments that I've seen multiple times, but they still make me laugh. Or they're moments where I'm like, I forgot about this. That's right, this happened. They're moments that people probably wouldn't otherwise believe had happened, and that either purposely or accidentally got captured in the vlog. So yeah, I'm excited to bring that to MomoCon as well. Capture new moments. I think it'll be my first time in Atlanta as well. So just getting to experience all that with again a really close group of friends. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. I really hope you guys have a great time, and I'm sure you will.
Yeah,
So
I think so.
I'm positive. Positive. You can quote me. If it doesn't go wrong, blame me.
I
I'll
will.
somehow take accountability for that. Um, I'm sure you're familiar with the trend, but we have a lot of people in the community coming in and who are currently a part of it, who have been going back, and a lot of the older stuff that the fandom had put out, content wise, is getting views, is getting more attention than it has before, and it might be a measure of nostalgia with Gen 4 wrapping up and Gen 5 being over the horizon, but so far it seems to be on everybody's minds. Going through all the vlogs like you do, reviewing that content, is there anything that sticks out in your mind from what you've seen recently from your vlogs as like a fun story or something that like a memory that you've experienced or remembered recently?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I always enjoy kind of seeing even on a personal scale, just the friendship interactions when our groups were just getting to know each other.
Mhm.
I had worked a little bit with Saber, uh, prior to us meeting at Everfree Northwest 2012, which was my first ever convention. And it's so funny to us to see us shaking hands, all professional like, being like, "Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Saberspark. Oh, I'm ACRaceBest. Yes, it's nice to meet you. Don't be late for the interview. Hope you were late for the interview. Sorry." It's fun looking back at that stuff. I also, to me, I find the vlogs so intriguing because, like you talked about, like we've had waves of people come in and go. We've had people that were really into the idea of the show in 2012 and 2013 that maybe fell out of it. And not just like big content creators, but maybe people that just had a 5 or 10 second moment in the vlog, and they go, "Man, I never saw this person ever again." And I base that off of they never show up in the vlog again. I never see them again, and it's like, yeah, I don't. They just disappeared. And I always find stuff like that just really intriguing. Kind of seeing the wave of, oh, here's when this person started showing up at conventions, and now we've seen them 6 years in a row at these cons and stuff. And I enjoy that. Like it's really it's really people driven. As far as like moments go, there's so many moments that just make me laugh. I talked about like the accidental moment. One of the greatest accidental moments was when Saber and I were having the infamous balloon fight at BabsCon in the elevator, and we're smacking each other, and Saber pauses briefly and says, um, "It's like Lauren's there," and then starts hitting me again, and we're smacking each other, and the door opens up, and Lauren Faust is the one walking into the elevator, and it's like, you need to stop opening your mouth, like you're creating these moments, and it was just bizarre and hilarious, and just got a huge laugh. And I'm actually in the process right now. Just to timestamp, I guess this interview is I'm still in the middle of editing the BabsCon vlogs
Mhm.
that I captured, and even in them, I'm seeing these moments where I'm like, I can't wait a year from now to look back at this convention and relive this moment and see this again or get this laugh. That's the kind of stuff for me, it's a huge part of why I love doing it and why I continue to do it.
Heck yeah. I mean, putting a smile on people's faces and being a part of that is, I'm sure, a wonderful thing to get to do, especially in this
Yeah, well,
community.
yeah, and on that note too, many times have I been approached by people either in person or in the comment sections of the videos, saying that this was their introduction to conventions. That I liked the idea of capturing these moments, not only as, hey, here's what you would have missed on the attendee side, but a lot of times, especially now, um, you know, we had these opportunities to be in areas or backstage or something, show off a little bit of what people don't see what's going on, show maybe a little more of the staff hard at work behind the scenes, or like these kind of quieter moments with show staff. And for that to have as many people as I've had over the years come up and say these vlogs are why I showed up, is because I saw how much fun it looked to be at these conventions. It's also really rewarding to me when I hear people say that the vlogs don't make them feel like they're watching the convention, but like they're experiencing it with me. That's very important for me. I always like being able to give that aspect and that feel to people that they're there. They're part of our friend group. Yeah, I'm holding a camera, but really that's their eyes into the group. And again, I decided to do it the first time I went to a convention, and I'm so glad that I did because I've had so much fun doing it through the years.
Heck yeah. And I'm sure it is a wonderful part. I had spoken to you previously about how I was young when the fandom first started, and I didn't have the opportunities to go and experience that firsthand. So that's awesome to see, and it's also awesome to hear that you love it. I know when I had spoken to, I think it was Saber that had said that at the conventions, after a long night, waking up feeling a little groggy and then looking over and you have a big smile on your face, your camera ready, and you're out the door shaking hands and right there to record what's going on. And that's that. I mean, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So to talk a little bit about, we have a lot of stuff on the horizon for Pony, a lot of stuff that uh, is going to be new for the fandom and new for the community at large. Generation 5 is the movie. I mean, I think it's fair to say it took a lot of people by surprise with how awesome it is and how well received it is. We have the shorts. I'm not sure if you've watched any of those yet. Yes or no? Maybe some of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we have the game coming out soon, and then the series shortly behind that. So the show itself is, of course, taken on a new story. It's not quite a continuation of Gen 4, obviously. Do you have any opinion on the direction of the show, as far as the fact that it is a new world, the fact that we have all these unanswered questions, the fact that it's apparently, from what we have seen, going to be just a completely new thing for the fandom? How do you think that's going to look for the fandom?
So for me, I'm very much a along for the ride type of individual when it comes to content like this. So I know a lot of people had opinions heading out of the movie. Oh, we didn't get a lot of answers here, or I wish we found out more about this, or what's going on. First off, like you said, the movie, I had a really goofy smile on my face, and I realized it at some point. I think it's even in the Bronies react that we did to it, where I called it out because I was like, okay, good. Like, I'm enjoying this. We went into this really not knowing, like, oh God, is this going to fall flat on its face? What's going to happen? I felt like the movie did a fantastic job. I happened to be, in contact with some of the people that worked on the movie, and even before it came out, just hearing how much they cared about the reception it was going to get from the fandom, I was like, this is a good start. And then we saw the movie, and I was like, yeah, you can tell that it was important to them to let if nothing else, let the fandom know that, hey, we know you guys are still there. We're not leaving you behind. Let's find out together, what happened in this world. Obviously, it was a time shift, so we know that the main six at one point were a thing. We don't know what's happened between now and then, and that's what I'm looking forward to is finding that stuff out. I imagine there's going to be more appearances by the main six when we talk about the specials and whatnot that we're going to be getting. As far as the YouTube content that's being released, the Tell Your Tales, I find this brilliant that they're doing this. I know, again, a lot of people have opinions about the quality of the animation or the storytelling or the fact that they're only 5 minutes. But to me, this is a great way to be able to grab these younger, audiences, get really young kids involved. I think it was at BabsCon, I mentioned how often we see kids, you'll be eating at a restaurant, and all of a sudden you'll hear like some cutesy noises somewhere, and you're like, what is that? And you turn around and there's a kid, the parents or the adults are having their conversation. To keep the kid busy, they hand them the tablet and say, here, watch something. That's the kind of something that's going to be turned onto that tablet that this kid's going to be sitting there and watching. And so I feel like that's great for the longevity of the fandom to be opening up this opportunity for kids to see this stuff. A lot of kids, despite whatever YouTube thinks it's doing with, oh, here are the people allowed on YouTube, there's a lot of kids on YouTube, and they're going to find this stuff, and it's free. It's out there for them. They don't have to figure out how to watch the movie or download Generation 4. They're going to have this stuff to establish. And what's also great about it, and this is what I also love about what they're doing right now, is that I know a lot of people said, I wish it was its own thing, but why I like that it's connected to G4 is that the people that do discover the show and get into it through Generation 5, they're probably going to have enough of a reason to go, well, wait, what happened in Generation 4? Because these characters are being brought up, I want to know. So it might get them into that show. And then we have this kind of cycle going where people are, whether they're getting into G5 or G4, you know, every piece of the pie is an important one, and I'm looking forward to it. I know that there's still a lot kind of hinging on how Generation 5 does fandom wise, but as we've seen already with conventions since they came back from the pandemic, Generation 4 is always going to be present. And even if Gen 5 takes a turn that a lot of the fandom doesn't like, it doesn't mean that, well, sorry guys, every convention is only going to be G5. You know, there's still going to be a lot of Gen 4 that's all a part of, of the conventions. And I often reference the conventions because to me that's like the hubs of the fandom, right? Like I know a lot of people will mingle online, but seeing everyone congregate in these conventions to me is one of my favorite parts. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Heck yeah. And I love the connections you made to the younger audiences as well, because that's extremely important. I mean, that's that's going to help a lot, especially in the years to come, and sustaining, as you said, the longevity of things.
Yeah.
To be a little bit more, I'm awful at my job, so I'm going to ask more specific questions, but also keep them very vague, because those are the best types of questions. Where do you get your ideas from? No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
I'll tell you.
The same water.
I'll leave it up to the audience to decide what that is. So how do you feel about Pseudoalicorn Sunny? Because if you, of course, the movie, the end of the movie, that whole thing happened. But then we have the game here, which shows, and it's just, of course, a game. Who's to say? But she apparently still has access to some of these abilities. Do you have any opinions on that at all? Have you thought about that?
It kind of goes back to, being on the ride and seeing where things go. As of right now, I don't, because there's still so many directions that it can go. I was fine with that turn of events. Again, we got our laughs out of it, comparing it to screaming at Larson when the wings showed up and the horn and all that. But I don't know. I'll be curious to see how they utilize it. Is it a permanent fixture? It doesn't seem to be permanent. How does it connect? Again, like what's going on? It's a big question mark. It's one of the many question marks that the movie raised. I also don't know how much stock I'm gonna put into the game as far as like canon. I look forward. So my wife and I we have a gaming channel called Ready Player Dumb. We're constantly uploading new games on there, and we're gonna have to pick up this pony game and see what it's all about at some point soon. So I look forward to getting into that stuff. I like that Hasbro is clearly just full throttle with Generation 5. Like you mentioned, game, YouTube series, movie, specials. There's a lot, and I mean a lot of content. I think there's more content than we even think is on the horizon. There's a lot coming our way, and it's exciting again because, and I think it's good too because again, talking about the YouTube series, if someone's like, that's not my cup of tea, okay, well, here's the next thing. Did you like that? Well, it was all right. Okay, well, here's the next thing. Let's try this. There's going to be a lot of G5 stuff, and again, I think that's good. It's definitely it provides some light to the future for the fandom. I know we constantly go back and forth about like how much content do you need for a fandom, but even if things ended with G4, I would have still had hope. But the fact that we're getting what we're getting with G5 makes me excited.
Yeah, no joke. And if you're anything like me, I'm sure instead of the whole "is this not your cup of tea" sort of thing, just seeing more I'll take all I can get. I love it all.
Bring it on.
But I asked that also just to reiterate the point of just Generation 5 is opening so many questions. There's so many things that are unanswered, and there's so much interest in what's to come. And I'm sure they're going to do a great job with that. But that's I think one of the more important things is just that they have those questions on our mind. They have a lot of people thinking about it and talking about it, and that's wonderful for the fan because we haven't really had we haven't had this in quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoy the debates. I enjoy that they gave us 5 likable characters, so everyone can figure out who they think is best pony once again, and everyone can fight over that. But yeah, the questions. I'm eager to see what kind of answers we start getting. I think most of us that are coming from G4 are really intrigued about what happened, what's causing this, why are things different, why are things being treated different, and we'll see. It There's not a disconnect. For anyone that has that concern, there's not a disconnect. Like, it's not like the people that made the movie did it and then they said, okay, now you show figure it out. There are people that are overlooking everything and saying, all right, let's make this all work. And so when you have the movie, like, that is a direct lead in. It's not like now the people are like, all right, start writing ideas for how the movie's going to come or how the show is going to come together. This, they have a plan in mind. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's going to like it, but that's part of the fun of watching a show and seeing where it goes.
Yeah, no doubt. And as time goes on, I'm not sure how you feel about things, but even things that I might have thought were in poor taste or maybe a little uncomfortable for me at the time, as the years have went on and the content has continued to be put out, I've only found that I've loved everything from the beginning. It's all wonderful, and there's nothing I don't like about it. I mean, the whole like sending the child to hell, turning it her stone thing, that might have been a little contradictory
Perfect.
to the
That was
overall
perfect.
message, but oh, you think
No,
so?
no, no, no. That's. I had waited 10 years for that. Do not take that away
Mm.
from me.
Okay.
All
Mm,
right,
sure.
we did not forgive her. I'll leave it at that. We did not forgive her.
We're gonna forgive her, aren't we?
But we did
No.
not.
Here we go.
We
We're
did
gonna
not.
find out. We're gonna find out that it's actually Cozy Glow that's been running everything. They released her from Stone. Twilight did before she took her vacation. She's now the princess. Just get ready. It's gonna happen. I hate to say it. We forgave her. Um,
I'm prepared.
or I would be terrified actually. Um, so we've talked a little bit about Generation Five, and I don't mean to detour too much away from that, but we have a lot of people in this community, wonderful people that create a lot of fantastic content. Um,
Mhm.
and as I've been talking with quite a few of them and trying to reconnect with community content myself, I've found that there's so many big projects, so many things in the works that are just incredible. In some cases, I would say even crazier than some of the stuff we've ever seen before, um, which is just as surprising to me. Um, I'm sure you follow a little bit of it. Is there anything in the community, content-wise, artist projects that you're excited for, that you're looking forward to?
Well, I've been in a very cool position over the years with the Bronies React series, where I've been able to get to know and befriend so many excellent content creators that have existed around the fandom. And so I'm always constantly looking forward to the new stuff that each of them has coming out. As far as any like specific projects right now, I haven't had my ear to the ground as far as like everything that's coming out, and
Mm.
and I think it's due in part to like I did, and then we started getting all the G5 stuff, and I'm like, oh my! So now it's like the focus goes, oh, official stuff, and then so for me, I've constantly been surprised through the years of like, oh, there's a new cool thing that just came out with the fandom. Um, I will say this. I will say that I feel like one of the reasons that the fandom had the success that it did from the early years getting going was the projects that were being created.
Mhm.
We had such quality content come out. And I know some of it, like, you can look back at now and say, yeah, I mean, it was okay. But think about 10 years ago when this stuff was being made and these programs were just being utilized for this stuff. Like, it was stuff that was mind blowing to see coming out of the fandom. Like, I know that, like, one of the examples of these kind of genres of media has always been the music. and seeing the musicians, from what started with, we had kind of that original group of musicians, and not that they were all one group, but a lot of them have since moved on, but we've had excellent musicians that have filled those gaps and are bringing new stuff to the scene. And I think that's great. I get excited when I'm at a convention and I'm at, like, let's say at the concert, and there's a musician that I've not heard of, but there's someone next to me singing along with the song that they're performing, and I'm like, wow, like, yeah, I might not be in the loop per se on this, but just to see, like, again, there's so many branches out of content that people consume in this fandom, and it's excellent. And I'm always looking forward to what's next. Yeah, I always try to kind of keep an eye on things. I know Little Shy has his top 10 pony
Mm-hmm.
videos that get voted on each month, and I feel like that's also a nice gauge of just seeing how much content is still being produced. I'm always amazed at the animations that are coming out. Like, I that's something I've never gotten into, as far as like creating myself, large part because I don't have the artistic talent, but like, knowing enough animators, it's mind blowing the amount of time that these people put into their projects, and I always hope that each of those individuals are able to get that love back. As far as the amount of time and and uh, just heart and soul that they put into the stuff. So I'm always looking forward to more. To me, that's always a sign again of a healthy fandom, is when we're getting more stuff, and the fact that what you're saying is there's a whole bunch of stuff being made right now, and some of it I'm not going to know about until it comes out, but that's a good thing. It's like, bring it on, more content. Absolutely.
Yeah, right around the corner too. It's incredible.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so speaking about conventions, I meant to bring this up a moment ago, but we got off on some wonderful other topics there. I hope it's okay to ask. So there has been quite a few people in the fandom, maybe a couple of people on Twitter even who have been maybe feeling like there is too much of the same thing going on at conventions. You might be familiar with that conversation a little bit, but we have uh, such a supportive community, such a transparent community, a community that if you want to become something, if you want to learn about something, there's 10 other people at that same level that are willing to explore that with you, as well as people who have done it for years and years, who are willing to sit down and answer questions and do what they can. But for those who are interested, maybe in one day going, participating in panels, going to conventions, doing music, selling their art, um, it's coming from somebody who goes to those conventions, sees new people all the time. Is there any advice you would have for those people who might not think that that's a possibility for them, or that's not something that is something that's going to happen?
Yeah. um you know there's kind of two sides to the conversation, where it's panel running and then like community guest side. And I know that we've seen a fair amount of new community guests that have come onto the scene over the
Mm-hmm.
years, in the recent years.
Yep.
And again, this goes back to the health of the fandom, where it's fun seeing these new faces, these new representations of different media. That was always part of the fun of the community guest lineup, is it gave attendees the opportunity to meet people that were behind these projects that they
Mm-hmm.
loved, behind whether it was music or animation or just general goofy videos, fan fictions. And I feel like conventions over the years, um, have done a great job with, you know constantly bringing in people that, again, I might not know the new person myself, but to see the response they get from the crowd, it's like, this is cool. Let's and I'm always, I always try, to be supportive, and if anyone did have questions in regards to that kind of stuff, be open to it. And I again, actions always will speak louder than words. So I can only hope that that's how, new individuals that have come in have felt. But that being said, as far as the panel stuff, we just at BabsCon, again. releasing a lot of the content of stuff that we captured at BabsCon, there were panels that we had taken part of that we hadn't previously. Um, and I'll give them a shout out here. Step Two Harmony. They're a group of cosplayers, great cosplayers. The kind that it seems like you look at the pictures that they took throughout the convention, and you're like, how many times did you change in a single day? Like it's crazy. And I
Yeah.
know you know I know several cosplayers just to know the amount of effort that goes into that stuff. And we've had parts with cosplay contests, and I've always been just so I guess mesmerized by the work that people put into that stuff. But I bring up Step to Harmony because they had a panel that we hadn't seen before called the My Little Dating Game, and it was phenomenal. It was so funny. It was an 18+ panel held later in the evening, and the whole point of it was literally to simp. Like you're trying to win over the heart of this pony. Like you're all in. I they had like a whole premise around it. Like you're all at the academy and you're trying to win her over. Um, and it was so funny. It was so good. And I was Saber and I were able to have a part in it. And but just to see like even aside from the panel, they had a dance sequence that went on for like 7 minutes, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all choreographed. And I'm sitting here going like, there's 6 of you doing this dance. Like this takes prep. This takes time. So to see new stuff like that, again, always welcome. And we love to see it. And conventions have a thing where anybody can submit a panel. And what they'll typically go off are 2 things. A, the originality of the panel. Is this something new? Is this something that seems intriguing? Something that people are going to show up for? Because that's number one. Are people going to show up? They, the whole point of these conventions is to have the attendees there enjoying what's being provided.
Crazy.
So yeah, mind blowing. And so these panels, which again we constantly are seeing new panels. Like if you take a look at a con book, typically, and it depends on the size of the convention, but BabsCon had, I was seeing if I had the con book around, but it has pages and pages of here's Friday, multiple pages, Saturday, multiple pages. There's a lot of stuff that goes on. And I'm doing like the long circle around to get to the advice part here.
Sure.
But if you have an idea, submit it. And if it doesn't get accepted, look into why. Like was it because it's a smaller convention and it turns out that there's not a lot of space? Because this happens at conventions. Since I keep talking about BabsCon one year, they had a conflict in regards to I think they like a space issue where they ended up losing like a whole panel room, and they had to readjust the schedule at the last minute, and stuff got cut. But my point I'm making here is that it's not always your panel didn't have a good idea. Sometimes it's just this is the space we're dealing with, and try again. Maybe look into it, or maybe bounce the idea off of people and say, is there anything I should add or consider for this panel? And there's no saying that if you don't just submit the same panel the following year, it might get accepted. So I talked about originality. I said that was number one. Number two for this is that conventions will work off of the past as far as who has experience running panels, who has shown that they can bring people into those panel rooms, who has shown that they can have something titled anything and people will show up. There are a number of people that we've been working around at these conventions that are constantly running these panels, but they're constantly bringing people into the panel rooms because people find the content interesting. And so that's the other thing, and I know that I think that's where some people see it a little bit harder to get started. But number one's the most important. You have a good panel idea, and they're able to say, yeah, you know what, we trust that this person can pull this off. that will get you a panel. You don't need to have the years of experience per se. It helps. It does help when they're trying to figure that stuff out. But absolutely, these conventions are constantly looking for the most important thing for them, and that is pleasing the guests. Because I know, like I said, some conversations that may or may not have popped up of recent times, sometimes people look at it the wrong way.
Mhm.
Being a community guest at conventions is not about the community guests. It's about the attendees.
Mhm.
It's about the people going to the conventions. It's about the people thinking about buying a ticket at the conventions. It's not about this is to make me feel good. That's why I was accepted, or this person was accepted. The idea behind it is, the convention, can we utilize this person in multiple different ways, not outside of just hosting one or two panels. But I've seen this, this conversation pops up every now and then, and I just, again, number one for these conventions is always going to be about, the attendees. And as a guest, as a community guest or as a panelist, that should also be the focus, about making their ticket worth the price. When we go to these conventions, my number one goal is that if someone only ends up at one, or let's say a couple of our panels, like they only end up at those, that made the price of their ticket worth the admission, outside of anything else going on. And yeah, it does mean a lot to us that that conventions have brought us out for years, and I think it's always fun talking to newer people and being able to share with them kind of stories of the past. We've had that happen a number of times where people are like, so what was it like in this year with these musicians or these community guests? Like, what was this person like? And that's something that we're able to share because, again, it's crazy to think how long we've been doing this stuff. But again, ultimately it boils down to do it because you love it. If you want to run a panel, do it because you love it, because you're not because you want to run a panel, but why do you want to run the panel? What is the panel that you want to run? And again, there's a lot of great stuff, whether it's in a big main hall or one of the side panel rooms. Always, if you're going to a convention, look through that schedule, because you might find a gym that you're like, I didn't know about this. I didn't know about the dating game. We went to it and I was like, this is hilarious. Like, it is so good seeing the way people get involved. You never know what you'll find. And certainly, if anyone's ever considering going to a convention, I hope that they absolutely give it a try, because there are a lot of good ones that are still out there, and a lot that I'd be willing to vouch for sure.
No joke. That was very well said. And I'm glad you brought up Step to Harmony too, because they're a great example of that as well.
Yeah.
They've only been doing this for about a year, if I understand that right.
Yeah, they've because I know they've released content and whatnot. I think some of the panels that they're doing are definitely newer.
Mhm.
But yeah, again, we love it. Like, contrary to what some may think, when we see new stuff like this, we get excited about it, because it's an opportunity to see what else does the fandom have to offer, and it's a win for everybody to have people sitting in those chairs enjoying whatever it is that they're watching.
Sure.
So yeah, it's cool. And again, I'm happy to give a shout out like that, where it's like, hey, we just experienced this. A lot of people already knew about these panels. For us, a lot of times we won't know about a lot, and it's because of our busy schedule at the conventions ourselves. So we have a little bit less opportunity to get around most weekends. But yeah, being able to experience stuff like that, just it warms my heart. I love seeing it. I love seeing what people are bringing in.
That's wonderful. And like you said, if it's something that you love, something you're passionate about, and you're willing to keep doing that, things are going to come from that, especially if you keep at it and try again. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah, and I'll just add this last note, that there are a lot of people who, over the years, I've seen them go from attendee to someday I'm going to run a panel. to I got accepted this year. I'm running a panel. Sometimes it just takes time, perseverance with it. But yeah, no, if it's something that someone's passionate about, um, absolutely, stick with it. It's just like content creating. You're not always going to end up with that big audience. When it is a new panel, it does require, or you're a new face that's putting it up. It's going to require a little bit more work as far as getting the word out that this panel exists. So that's something to always keep in mind. If you do get accepted, don't just show up assuming that your whole audience is going to be there. But it is hard too, because there's not always the opportunity to share. Like some conventions during opening ceremonies will pass the mic around. Others, you just get on stage and say hello. And that's not for, that's more of as a community guest. So as just a panelist, you can find creative ways. Sometimes people have like business cards will they hand out, and it'll have the time of their panel and be like, hey, if you're interested, check this out. People are literally grabbing, like, there are so many people are handing stuff out like that, like whether it's to promote their channel or to promote it. I actually haven't seen it as much with panels, but that's what I would do is just give a little thing saying, hey, show up. But yeah, just stick with it. If it's something you really truly want to do, just don't give up. Like eventually you're gonna find that opening. You're gonna find that convention that works with you. Um, and again, if it seems like, oh, why didn't this get accepted? Don't be afraid to go back and try to adjust it. Maybe be like, maybe next year we'll change it up, make it a little more interactive. I feel like those are people enjoy interactivity. I know all of our panels involve interactivity. We love interacting with the audience, and it really can add to one's panel. So,
Heck yeah. You mentioned in that something wonderful that people who are new come up to you guys and you get to show them and you get to introduce them to all of this older content that they may never have been able to experience before. And I've just got to ask, who are you?
Let me explain. I'm Saberspock. I'm Dusty Cat. Who am I?
Oh, I've heard about you. That's awesome. Okay.
So this is a tangent, but at that dating game, there was a girl that I was competing against. I thought she did a really good job. I did end up winning Rainbow Dash's heart.
Weird.
I feel like I took a little more of the 18+ nature of the panel to heart than maybe some others. But it was so funny because like and maybe I say funny now, but maybe I'll regret it later. But I think she became my nemesis, and every time like someone else was there with her, and she was like, "Oh, here's your best friend," the following day as a joke, and she goes, "Who?" and just keeps going, and I'm like, "This is so funny. I love this." I don't even remember why I brought. Oh, it's because you said, "Who are you?" and it immediately sparked that, and I was like, "Oh, this is great." Yeah.
Saber or Paleo told me about that. Yeah, they had no idea who you were.
Yeah.
Which leads me back to my original question, because I'm serious. I have no clue. Who are you?
Who are you? Who am I? How would you like me to answer this question?
I mean, it's a very, very vague question.
It is.
Which I feel like those are the best. Like I've been, of course, doing interviews and researching how to do interviews and just learning about this process and this format. I found that you really want to ask very, very vague questions, and leave it as open as possible. I've heard that those do really, really well. So I feel like it's important to the people watching this to know
who am I?
Who are you?
Who am I? Well, if I was asked this question, which I was, so I'll answer it like I would, because I will. Yeah, I am ACRaceBest. I'm a content creator in the Brony fandom. I've been making YouTube videos for My Little Pony since 2011. I got a series that it seems like a couple people know about called Bronies React, bringing together a lot of individuals from the fandom who would, I guess you could say, recognized for their content. And yeah, for fun, I'm a mechanical engineer during the week, or maybe that's my career. I forget, but I enjoy it. I'm also a racetrack announcer, a racetrack broadcaster for stock car racing. I got a live streaming deal called Low Budget TV that's been going on longer than I've ever been involved in a fandom. And the AC stands for Acorn Cafe, because everyone always wants to know, what does the AC stand for? But we already talked about the Acorn Cafe, so that connection's already been created.
Oh.
And I'm married, in case anyone's. I know a lot of people were gonna ask, but I'm taken. So sorry.
I'm glad you
How'd I
covered the
do?
last bit there. No, you did
Yeah.
fantastic. I learned a lot of things. I didn't know a lot of that, so that's great. I feel like I had heard the Acorn Cafe thing before. Never made any connection to that. That's awesome though.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, AC Run Fast, I think, or AC Run Good, I thought was the pin name you went by.
Yes, that's to cover up, when I'm writing my fan fictions that I claim that I don't do
Right.
anymore.
It's certainly a claim from what you sent me. Which, by the way, that's tough. Wow, that's some cringy shit.
Well, it's what
But
I
no,
do.
that I mean, keep at it. Once again, yeah, you keep at it. Just like you said, maybe one day you'll be able to do a panel or something. You'll be able to get up there with the big boys, and you'll be able to do something everybody loves.
God, I hope so.
We have faith in you.
I won't lose the cringe, though. I promise that.
That's
I'll make
good.
it work.
It's got to be a part of the fandom that you have the cringe. I mean, I intentionally set myself in a basement for these interviews, and I have a very nice office upstairs. But I figured it'd be pretty weird to talk to bronies in an office.
Sure.
I mean, this is what everybody's expecting. So I mean, give the people what they want, you know.
No, yeah. One for the people. Certainly.
Of course, that's all we can do here. By the fans, for the fans. Equestria Daily.
Oh, tagline. Plug it.
On the topic of Equestria Daily, though, who are we? Have you ever heard of Equestria Daily before?
I have once or twice.
Hmm.
I remember my first interaction with Equestria Daily because I did not know Equestria Daily existed when I started making content. And I was making. Now I'm pulling up my deal. I'm like, just want to make sure I get the right one mentioned. But yeah, I was starting to release videos. I was inspired by actually the anthologies originally. I really liked their short form comedy, splicing stuff together, and so I really enjoyed that. And I'm like, I want to do that stuff. And so I started making some videos, and then I started seeing the music that was in the fandom. I started seeing just a lot of the content, and started, eventually it just kind of grew to become its own thing. But I released a video. I could probably even find the comment that made me find out what Equestria Daily was. But I released a video called Like a Faust, and I think this was the one that ended up on Equestria Daily, and it's a song parody to Like a Boss, and I don't even say Lauren's name right in this whole video. I constantly say Like a Faust because yeah, and so I released this video, and it was like, haha, content, this is goofy. And somebody commented on it saying, congratulations for being posted on Equestria Daily. And I was like, what the hell's that? I had no idea. And then so I looked it up, and I'm like, oh. And yeah, because I know, like, back in the day especially, it was a big deal. It still is, don't get me wrong, still is, yeah. But with Equestria Daily, where it was like especially young fandom days, if something got posted there, it was like boom, like explosion. People being like, "Who's this person?" Which is awesome. I much smaller version of that, but I've enjoyed having kind of stuff happen with the Bronies Reacts, where people have been able to discover content creators through those.
Mm-hmm.
obviously, Equestria Daily's had a hand in a lot more content creators than I ever had. But yeah, it was just such a funny discovery because a lot of people were like, "Oh man, congratulations!" And I was like, "What's Equestria Daily?" I had no idea. So that was my first interaction with such a fine group of individuals.
Awesome. And I think we have our thumbnail too. Just what's Equestria Daily? Question mark. That would be a good one.
What is Equestria Daily? I'm literally going through this video right now, seeing if I can find the comment. I think I even remember who posted it.
That's a good memory.
I think. I mean, I'll probably be wrong, but
only seeing you now look away from the camera do I realize I've been staring at you just out of respect because I, conversation wise, and I realized that this is the camera over here. And it might have been a little bit better if I was looking over here the entire time.
But, I'm doing the same thing. Like when I'm talking to you, but then when you're talking to me, I got like, I'm like, yeah. Talk to me.
Figured out. I'll fix it in post.
There you go.
I think that's how that works, right?
CGI eyes that are looking in a different direction.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, that'd be a fun comment to see. Equestria Daily's been around for a moment. Heard of those guys once or twice. It's crazy to think that they're still kicking after all this time.
I'm happy about it, though. Like, not only am I a nostalgic person, but I love just kind of seeing those connections. Like, even though we have a lot of them, seeing people that have stuck with it as long as we have, it's cool.
That's awesome. And I can certainly speak to like Brony's React, for example, introducing me to content creators I otherwise probably wouldn't have known about. And that is an awesome part of the channel. I really have enjoyed everybody across the board that I've got to meet through that, or got to see the content for rather through that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very entertaining. A small little tidbit that I don't know if I discussed this with you before, but I think it's funny. I was going through the Equestria Daily posts that we have up for Brony's React videos. And we have something called labels that are like tags that we use to define each video and category so they could be searched through the index on the site. And the Brony's Reacts are listed as analysis videos.
Oh.
And I was like, not quite.
Analysis. That's what we do.
So, ACRaceBest, the Brony analyst.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had no idea personally, but yeah. How do you feel about that title?
I've had really good experiences with most of the analysis individuals in the fandom. We've even had our part in the TF2 analysis series. So, maybe that is what we've been doing all these years. Maybe we've been dead serious. There's been times with some of the reacts where people have like gotten like up in arms, like, how could you say such a thing? And I'm like, why is this when you take us seriously? All right.
very much for fun. It's comedy. It's entertainment, and it usually is. I mean, there might be some like subtle things that the fandom like the feelings, the attitude towards like Flash Sentry stealing our horse waifu, things like that. Those are encouraged because that response from the fandom might warrant, like it did for him to back up off of our girl.
That's right.
Who's to say? I'm gonna give you guys credit for that because it was getting a little hairy there for a moment. They even ponified him. Who knows what would have happened? Who knows what would have happened?
I know Black Griffin was a large supporter of the She's My Waifu
good man
coalition.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he jumped out of a plane just to make his point. So,
it's good dedication. I don't think Flash would jump out of a plane.
No, he wouldn't. We know he won't. Let's not even pretend. Now, I will say this. Vincent Tong, who voices him, is awesome.
He is.
That guy's great. He but he can only control so much with what happens when his voice goes out there in the waves. But
of course,
he's been great. He was actually I remember when I first met Vincent, I forget if it might have been Saber that we turned to each other and we both at the same time said, I think I like Flash Sentry now. It was just from meeting Vincent. It was like, maybe he's not so bad after all.
He's a cool guy, and he's very in touch with the culture here. We have.
Yes. Yeah, no, he's great. Whenever he's out, he was at BabsCon, but whenever he's out at a convention, there are some guests with the show that they're there, and here are the panels. We'll do the panels. Here are autographs. We'll do the autographs. And most of the ones again that I've had the opportunity to meet have been great. Vincent though is one of the much less usual of the show staff. Where for him, he loves getting around the conventions. He's like, okay, so we're done. Like, let's go check stuff out. I didn't even know he had a photo. We had a Jackbox panel where we were all playing against like the audience and all that.
Yeah.
And he posted a picture from it, and I didn't realize it. Like, he tagged me in the tweet, and that's when I'm like, I didn't even realize you were there because again we were a little busy. But it's just I love it when you see the show staff get involved in that way, where they're like, we're gonna mingle. Another person, and it doesn't stop here, but M.A. Larson was another one where it would not be surprising to see him just hanging out in the hotel lobby with a group of bronies. Just to see that, those are what, for me, like, these conventions, they create these opportunities that are really unlike anything else. And in a large part, I think it's also like, I haven't been to many other conventions, but I can't imagine how much you get that with other shows or other genres, where once they go from behind the table, they literally just walk around into the group and go, all right, where are we gonna drink? Like, let's go hang out.
Yeah.
I think that's special. And I think it, a lot of conventions that are out there, like, that is a key thing to keep an eye out for. Are your guests that are willing to get out and hang out and not just be available. And this in large part also goes to the community guest side, where it's not just about, oh, here's when I'm presentable. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm more of an extrovert.
Sure.
And so I know it doesn't work for everybody this way, but I love walking the hallways, interacting with the attendees, just having fun. Like, every moment isn't just made on stage. There could be moments where you turn a corner and you're just like, okay, what's going on? You asked about moments earlier from convention vlogs, and like one right here. I remember turning the corner at a convention that existed in Minneapolis called MLPMSP, and I think it was their second year. And we turned the corner, and there were these people rolling around in sleeping bags that were completely shut, and like worms, getting around like worms. Crawling through and it was just hilarious. And it's like, what's going on? And I forget what they called it, like worm wrestling or something. Worm wrestling, I don't know. And but it was so bizarre. But it's like, it's a moment like that where it's like, this didn't need a stage, this didn't need a panel time. It's just something that's happening with people being goofy at a convention in the hallways of a con. But it's memorable and it's funny. And it's stuff like that where it's like, it's just goofy, and I love it. I love moments like that. I don't even remember the question. I don't even remember what we're talking about, but I love it. Yeah.
That makes you feel any better? I've also forgotten. I don't keep track of these things. Speaking to like the community guests or the show staff rather, in particular, I have a personal I have a memory of, I think it might have been 2015. I couldn't tell you what convention it was at, unfortunately. But I was there doing interviews, and I had for Equestria Daily, and I was stopped in the hall, and I started talking to this very nice gentleman for about an hour and a half about theories around the show, and about just all kinds of stuff, really. And then halfway through, a brony comes up and says, "Hey, it's Big Jim." And I realized only after an hour and a half of talking to this guy just randomly in the corner of the lobby there, it was Midwest actually, and it was in the vendor hall off to the side. They had these. It was a big room, and only like a part of it was used for the vendor hall. That I was talking with Big Jim the whole time. I had never seen his face before, and that's just something you don't expect to have to happen at a place like that. Or maybe people coming into it who aren't familiar with cons wouldn't expect to have that interaction. And that's
Yeah.
truly what's wonderful about the fandom, because you don't see that a lot. I mean, I've been to to San Diego Comic Con. I've been to some of the larger conventions, and although a lot of the times the guests there are probably pretty busy, pretty slammed, that happens. It's nice to be able to do that, and it's not very common outside of Pony all the time.
Yeah. Um, yeah. It is like, and again, like these aren't anecdotal. Like they happen throughout.
Sure.
I was gonna say one thing that, because I know that in 2019 we had our last BronyCon, which was the biggest gathering that we were having, and there's been a lot of people who have been like, man, it's just a real bummer that I didn't get to experience it. And while I won't argue that it isn't a bummer if someone didn't get to experience it, I do often tell people, like, one thing that may not be as apparent is that when you're at a smaller convention, again, BronyCon was pulling in 10,000 people. You go to a convention that has 2,000, maybe just 1,000, maybe under 1,000. The FaceTime that you get with the guest goes up substantially. Like when we were at BronyCon, we tried so hard to be able to give anyone that wanted our time, but we also were doing, in some cases, panels in the teens. So we were constantly going from one thing to the next, traveling through the hallways, and we never, ever, ever wanted to, like, if someone was like, "Can I get a picture or an autograph?" Never, ever want to be in the spot where we're like, "I'm sorry, I can't do it right now." At these smaller conventions, like I was just talking about, like being able to just walk the hallways and go through the vendor hall, or just see what people are up to, or just hang out. Um, there's a lot more FaceTime that people get, and it works on the show staff level as well. So if ever, again, this is to anyone that's like, well, I don't know about going to a convention if it's a smaller con. It might actually be a better experience in that sense. You might have the opportunity to get to mingle more. You're going to run into the same people more often. You might make some more friends. Like, it's common for people to go to a convention, possibly by themselves, and leave knowing a group of people that they were hanging out with. Which is another thing that I always love to hear,
Yeah.
love to see. I've had it where people have come up on the first day of a con going, I don't have anyone to hang out with. Do you have any advice for meeting people? And I'm like, just keep hanging out. Just, go to panels, hang out. In some cases, a lot of people will be in the lobby. If, it's not easy for everybody. I can't compare it to someone who's very introverted, because I'm not. And so it's easier for me to say, well, just walk up to somebody. To some people, it's like, that's a death sentence. How dare you even suggest it? But it is very easy to get comfortable with the people you're around at these conventions, because when I'm every con I've been to, the attendees, it's a bunch of people that are there. They're there to have fun. They're there to have a good time. And it's a very easy environment to get to know people, get to meet
Sure.
people. They're fun. You should go to a con. If you haven't gone, go.
You should.
You
And
should.
if I might build on what you just said there, you're going to these cons. Everybody there is there to have fun, but beyond that. Whereas if you go to like Comic-Con, it might be a little different. Everybody at these cons are going there for ponies. Like there's a big mutual interest there, and I mean that's wonderful. That that there's not only people there just to have fun, but also there for the love of something that you also enjoy.
Easier to turn to someone and ask them who their favorite pony is at a pony convention,
Or least favorite pony.
than walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go to Comic-Con and you're like, hey, Who's your favorite? Now, granted, I did do this on the streets of Las Vegas, where I walked up to people asking them who their favorite pony was with no
Oh,
context.
yeah.
Yeah, they were very drunk, maybe more than just drunk. My Little Vegas, if you haven't seen it, it's one of the more dangerous and wild videos I've ever put together.
Yeah.
You'll see why.
So as we enter hour 5 of our interview here, I'd like to take a moment to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you guys are working on right now. I know you had brought up Ready Player Dumb.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure you had brought up your podcast. I'm not quite sure if you had brought up outside of BabsCon and MomoCon, the videos that you're going to be putting out for that, and the videos that you're working on currently for BabsCon. Anything else you want to include? Anything else you want to talk about? We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, so first off, you mentioned the gaming channel again, Ready Player Dumb. Talked a little bit about that. It's Sarah and I playing video games. The name stemming from the fact that I'm not a great gamer. So I do a lot of stupid things in video games. I've broken a lot of games that my wife Sarah has said, I've never seen a game glitch out like this. How do you always do this? And it's because I do stupid things. But we have a lot of fun. We upload content twice a day, and we have like typically 6 games going at a time as far as our upload schedule. So it'll be like 2 games on Monday, and then a different 2 on Tuesday, and then typically we have another 2 different games that will go up on the weekend. But every day of the week, Monday through Sunday, or Sunday through all of them, just every day. So we have a lot of fun with that, and again, it's called Ready Player Dumb. We'd love to have anyone that would like to join us there. You mentioned the podcast. It is the Semi-Perfect podcast, and it is a podcast that brings together actually already a number of people that you've had a chance to talk with. Saber Spark and Paleo. My wife basically produces that, just like she produces the gaming channel stuff. I don't think it was as captured, perhaps, but you've seen her producing work at work as we just started, as I was trying to get my camera to work for this interview. Um, God bless her. But yeah, we also have Jax Blade and Hirasashi, Panama Matt, Black Griffin. We have a lot of us that get together. It's bi-weekly on Wednesdays. So every other Wednesday we get together, we catch up on what's new in the My Little Pony world, the media world, what's new just with stuff that we're working on or that we're doing. We like to see what people are. Again, it's very interactive. I love interacting with our audience, whether it's at a convention or on a podcast. So have fun with that. As far as the ACRaceBest channel continues on, yeah, a lot of vlog content that is now coming out again. I really miss putting this stuff together during the pandemic. So I'm glad that conventions are back. I'm glad that we're getting all together again.
Heck yeah.
Vlogs for BabsCon might even be done before this goes up. MomoCon, going to be vlogging that, as well as any other conventions that I'm going to. You can pretty much count I'll be vlogging them, capturing moments, also filming the panels. In addition to that stuff, still working on reacts. Right now, we don't have a Bronies React currently in the works, and I say that as of the timestamp of us recording this, but we are gearing up for putting one together, likely for the special that'll come out for Gen 5. I'm putting together a smaller one for the Tell Your Tell stuff, where it's just Sarah and I kind of going through and watching and kind of reacting, commenting on it. Because sometimes the convention schedule will dictate how much time I have for stuff. So that's why I didn't do a full-blown Bronies React right now. But yeah, just constantly still thinking of ideas and new stuff I want to do for the ACRaceBest channel. Always juggling time. Time's my biggest enemy with all this stuff, because we got the gaming channel. Got the right now it's the vlogs that I'm editing. Got other stuff that I'm just trying to finish editing. And then on top of that, I work, during the week and on weekends. So just making it all kind of work around that schedule it's always a fun juggle, but I always wish I had more time. But
Of course.
yeah, plenty of content to come out of my stable. Horse puns.
Can't get through a single one of these without a horse pun.
That's right. Now, what was my Zootopia limit?
References? I think we have 3 left. It was 5. You have the shirt and the desktop wallpaper behind you, so.
Yeah. I just want to take this moment to say that Judy Hopps is the best. So, in case when you asked me my favorite. Oh no, you didn't ask me my favorite pony. You asked me my least favorite pony. So it's a good thing I didn't say her name then. That would have been a problem.
Yeah, that would have been unfortunate.
Would have ousted myself. Saber laughs, and I think this was on the vlog. I couldn't tell you which one, so just go watch them all.
Of course.
But there was a moment where I was trying to make a joke, or it might have been on a panel actually, where I was trying to make a joke that what was it? Like, I forget even what movie. I think he asked me about Sherlock Gnomes, and I said something like to the effect of like, it's the best movie that I've seen today or something. Like, I was like, because I had just seen it. And so I was gonna make that joke as like, haha, yeah, it's the best movie that I've seen in the last 2 days. But I had also seen Zootopia in that span, and he's like, oh, and I'm like, shit, slip of the tongue. I'm still very much a Zootopia fan. Over the years, I've gotten some really cool fan art from people. Some of it's Zootopia related. I haven't said this. This is kind of a tangent, but like on the fan art side, and talking about the community guest stuff at conventions and running panels and whatnot. Whether or not it needs to be said, I've had so much fun all these years doing this stuff. And it goes in part with why I vlog everything, is because I absolutely just love. I love being able to again go to these conventions and just be in the moment, be with everybody, just having a good time, and the fact that we've been granted the moments to get up on stage and perform for people, or answer people's questions, or just given the opportunity to make people laugh, is, to me, it's such a gift to have been given that opportunity. And it's so cool. I can't even express just how lucky we've been over all these years to be a part of it. All the amazing people that we've met because of it. And again, it all goes back to, I'm ever thankful that conventions have continued to give us a platform, give us a stage to do what we do at these conventions, because my God, we still love doing it. And the fact that people show up and enjoy that stuff, to me, it's incredibly heartwarming. It's a rush, kind of like nothing else. And even just when people come up to us at conventions and just thank us for the content we make, it's like, God, that's such a good feeling. So for anyone watching this, thank you. It's really, it is just so cool to be part of this. And I'm just thankful that people continue to have us.
Heck yeah. And I'm sure we'll keep it going for years to come.
I certainly hope so.
To wrap things up on a more positive note, I've been asking people if they have any closing statements. I think you did a great job there. I'd like to say really quick that I had asked Paleo if he had any famous last words, as I put it, and he informed me that that Rainbow Dash does in fact suck. She is worst pony, and I just want that to be on the record. Or I wanted to inform you that is already on the record.
Yeah.
Just trying to get some brownie points there, just feeding you some little bits. Yeah.
Well, I'll just end this then with this uplifting note. I think it's great that everyone can have their opinion. I think it's fun that everyone can debate who's best pony. And I think that everybody understands that it is the lowest IQ of individuals that hate Rainbow Dash. So
I knew it was coming. Yeah. I wasn't sure how, but that's good. That's good. And you're right. I mean, There's no doubt about that whatsoever.
No doubt. We know it. No debate.
Heck yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we've probably reached a point where we can bring things to a close. I don't know if you do have anything you would like to say beyond people who hate Rainbow Dash having low IQs. We can totally in there if you'd like. Um, that sound good to you?
Yeah. Last thing, and again, it goes off of the previous thing that I was saying before the low IQ comment. It's just the again. I'm always just so thankful to have the audience that I've had, to have the viewers that we've had over the years, for any of the projects that I've released or any of the panels that we've done. Um, I'm always looking forward, to the next interaction, and just again really appreciate everyone giving us the opportunity, the chance, to do what we love to do, and that's making people laugh in a large part. So yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed this interview. I appreciate Equestria Daily and Allyster here having me on, and yeah, I don't forget to check out Ready Player Dumb if it so meets your fancy.
I've watched it myself, and it's pretty awesome. You guys got some great stuff on there.
Thank you.
Not a
It's
whole lot of
all
Judy
thanks to my
Hopps,
wife.
but not as much as I
Oh,
expected, rather.
oh, don't worry. Yeah, we're. I need to find a good Zootopia game. Like I know that they've had some stuff, but maybe I'll hit up some of those weird online Zootopia games.
That's a good idea.
Um,
Go to Newgrounds
you
or something.
know, yeah.
It
I
doesn't
think
sound
that's
bad.
probably the next step, the next logical step. Um, I also think that I've used up all of my Zootopia references at this point, so I guess I'll just sign off with try everything.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. We really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us tonight, Race. Um, uh,
Absolutely.
we wish you the best. You've been doing content for so long for the community. We hope that doesn't stop anytime soon. Um,
Well, thank you.
absolutely. And I want to thank everybody for watching. Next week we should have another episode out for you guys. Thank you for stopping by. And then it's mandatory. It's ritual here. We usually have a 10-second awkward silent stare at the camera. If you'd like to end that with me,
Yes, I'm ready.
Of course. We never do this, by the way.
I blinked. Is that a problem? Shall we start over?
I blink too.
All right, we can start over if you want. I'm still blinking. I haven't stopped blinking actually. Now I'm thinking about blinking. Shit.
That's good. None of this. This is all live. This is going in. I think I'm joking.
I once had a staring contest with Peter New.
Oh yeah.
It was one of the most frightening things I've ever done in my life.
I'm right there with you. I have a picture of it too.
Oh.
I snuck my phone in, clipped the edge of his face. It was kind of terrifying. That was not a close up I was expecting to get.
Are you still staring at your camera? I can't tell.
I am.
Good. I am too.
Okay. That's good. Well, thank you very much. Once again, I just wanted to be known that we are very appreciative of the time you've given us here today, and the fandom is super excited to see you continue to put out stuff. Race. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for having me.
Of course, anytime. I'm probably gonna cut it. I'm probably gonna cut it around here, somewhere around.
You won't.